Oh, so you can't go home.
So what did you come up with as percentage? Because I know there was percentages on there, it's not
I think it's a real strong house.
Or you ran into them in the bathroom. They're off.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. They sent an email today that the Department of Toxicology might run out.
It's not money.
Okay, Todd, are you ready? Okay, I will now call this June 14, 2022 meeting of the County Council to order. Councilman Reese, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Well, praise you, Father, we thank you once again for allowing us to sit in your kingdom. Father, thank you, Father, for all those here who represent their homes and abroad. Father, we thank you for our first responders, Father, and we thank you that we keep your arm around all our citizens here in Madison County. Father, we ask you to put a very special care for our leaders and abroad, all over the world, and those who fight in wars, and we pray that you kingdom soon. Father, we thank you, and we pray for those who lost loved ones uncharacteristically, Father. We thank you for everything you do, Father. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you lead the roll call, please?
Councilman Reese? Here. Councilman Micah? Here. Councilman Alexander? Here. Councilman Steele?
Right, sir.
Councilman Emery? Here. Councilman Bond? Present. President Gale?
Here. Okay, next, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes of the May 10, 2022 meeting.
Make a motion.
Motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn, second by Councilman Reese. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That passes. Next, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Hang on one second. We have a motion by Councilman Emery and a second by Councilman Vaughn. Or, I'm sorry, Councilman Steele. Councilman Vaughn has a question.
Councilman Reese will be getting approved for the out-of-state conference. Could I maybe add to that? I just don't know if I get approved for more than the other one. Can you just go ahead and add me and approve me? And if I can't go, I can't go. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's discuss that when we get to that stat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. No comments under the council president's comments tonight. We do have the auditor here to do a report.
Good evening, council. I'll just share a few numbers with you and then take a seat so you can get on with your business. Just want to share, we done settlement this week, a week ago Friday, finished it up this past Friday, and that's where we send all of our tax dollars collected from the treasurer out to the taxing units, cities, towns, school systems, townships, the county itself. So after that settlement, which took place on Friday, the county's general fund balance is at $13,473,692. So that carries us through the end of the year. Normally in May, property tax owner or property owners will pay their property taxes. Maybe they might pay the spring and fall, so that collection in the spring is a little bit larger than it is in the fall, but it averages out to what we budget, the revenues we budgeted against last year. So the rainy day fund right now is sitting at $4,706,363. Public safety lit is sitting at $871,030, and the correctional facility lit balance is $2,244,710. That's expected to generate $5.3 million and change before the end of the year, which goes to the purchase of a new jail or the bonds for that particular jail. So just to let you know, we're still at that $9 million mark that we need by the end of the year in general fund. Public safety funds, with the exception of about $50,000 or $60,000, has met that $1.5 million in additional appropriations allowed out of that $3 million, because $1.5 million of that is set aside for the 125% coverage on any bond payments toward the jail. So that would be the jail lit plus the bonding agencies wants 125% coverage, which is what that 1.5 was designed to do. The last 1.5, so you have about $53,000 that's available in that public safety lit. Keep in mind, as I mentioned last, that doesn't mean people have extinguished their budgets. It just means available or appropriate. Keep in mind that I mentioned last month that because of the price of gasoline and those that can't get their gasoline at the highway department at a fixed price are buying pump price, and yesterday it was $5.25. So I would guess that, I'm not speaking for the sheriff, but I would guess his patrol cars will need that $50,000 easily by the end of the year, so keep that in mind. So what I'm actually telling you is your public safety and your general fund appropriations have been extinguished for this year. We're 6 months in, and people need to work within their budgets without new additional appropriation requests. So that would be my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 items under communications this evening. These are not actionable items tonight, but it will be information for the council. So the first person on the agenda is Chad Blake from Lapel Stony Creek Fire Territory.
Good evening, council. Thank you for having me on your agenda for this evening. So the purpose of coming before you all this evening is to make a request for 2023 funds to be allocated to our fire territory out of the public safety portion of the local income tax. This is a right that is afforded to us under Indiana Code 6-3.6-6-8 that allows any fire department or emergency medical service provider that is not part of a political subdivision otherwise entitled to receive a distribution to make a request for funds before July 1st. So my attorney was supposed to be here with some documentation to go with it, but before I get into a little bit of those details, I have some information to hand out. I do have one question that I could not find an answer to, so hopefully somebody here can answer this for me. On the local income taxes, whether it be our certified shares or the public safety, how is that distribution calculated?
Rick or Doug, would you have that answer?
Certified shares, we get our certified share list from the state every year based on, just for instance, if a tax was increased or decreased, let's say income tax would get increased or decreased, and that has to be done by, I think, July 1st, is that right? It might be a little bit later date, and then that's determined from the state based on, income tax revenues to the state, through the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
So we will get a list that says Stony Creek gets this, each and every county is exactly what to them. So that's not an option we have at the county level, that's a number we get from the state that we distribute to others.
Okay. And the reason for that question, here, let me hand out some material to you all, since I took the time to stand in front of a copier for a few hours. Save some trees, you'll have an entire copy of the Indiana Code for taxation, local income tax. Yeah, I didn't want to print out all the copies of 78 pages of code. So the public safety money is defined under Indiana Code 6-3.6-20-14, which goes into the details of police or law enforcement, firefighting, emergency ambulance service, emergency medical service. We qualify under section 2, 3, and 4 of that for our fire territory. Then the reason I had that question is the allocation and distribution of the certified shares. Got my papers out of order, I apologize. Is to be set based on the tax council by our votes and our percentage of the votes. So therefore, LaPel, under the new census data, is 1.79% of the population, for example. Therefore, we'll have 1.79 votes and would be entitled to 1.79 shares of the public safety and the certified shares by the state. That is a requirement that the auditor has to submit to the state that certified amount every year to ensure that we're receiving correct distribution within that. There's 3 packets inside your folder. One of them goes into the detail of the allocation of votes and shares. There's a spreadsheet on the back page of that, and this is for reference. I won't get into the weeds on it. That shows our current distribution and then what should be our corrected distribution based on our certified share percent. That number should be pretty evenly distributed based on the population. The county collects $113.85 per resident of the entire county in public safety money, and there are some varying things that obviously not what I'm here to talk about in full today, but some communities receive $120 to $130 per resident, where a town like LaPel receives $27 per resident. So something that I would ask that you guys can review in addition to that going forward would be looking at those allocations to make sure things are being properly distributed for the town of LaPel. We struggle for our public safety budget every year, and that would be an additional $200,000 if we received our full share versus the percent that we are currently receiving. So for the fire territory though, in Indiana Code 6-3.6-6.8, we are required to present to the county council prior to July 1st of a calendar year our request for a distribution out of the local income tax public safety money. Public safety, of course, as defined by the other section that I mentioned, so that you guys have time to, before September 1st of the year, adopt a resolution making that distribution to a qualifying department. So based on those codes, based on the numbers for 2022, obviously 2023 could be different, but the county receives for 2022 $5.595 million in public safety money. Stony Creek Township serves a population of 3,908. 2,325 of those are residents of the town of LaPel. 1,583 are residents in the unincorporated portion of the county. These numbers do not include the residents of Jackson Township, which is south of the river and north of Stony Creek Township, as we also do provide their fire protection service on the south side of the river as well. As I stated, the county receives $125.43 per resident in lit funds for the unincorporated area. That would give us a budget potential for public safety in Stony Creek just for the 1,583 residents of $190,555.69. Obviously, I understand that the county has to provide police protection to that area, the jail, pensions, things like that that are allocated under the public safety definition. So we, as the Stony Creek Township, being its own entity separate from the town of LaPel, would like to request a distribution in 2023 of $82,810.11 from the public safety lit. That equates to $52.31 per citizen in the unincorporated area, or 1.48% of the total lit for the county.
Are there any questions by any members of the council?
Yes, can you give me guidance on the code? Are you familiar? Do you need some time? Our council attorney to give us a quick.
I actually had some communication with our attorney earlier today and asked him if he'd be willing to help us, because this is something that, at least on my time on the council, I haven't been approached with, so it would be good for us to know what the process is. So,
So just starting off.
would you mind moving to the microphone? Sorry.
And just one last piece of paper that's in there, I do have a copy of our certified budget for the township so that you can see the small amount of money that we have for fire protection to help justify our request.
Thank you.
Doug Kowalski filling in for the Venerable Ted Nolte. A few things I just want to clarify. Most of what he said is correct. He used the term council has to approve and notification has to go to the council by July 1. The statute actually used the word adopting body, which is a defined term under 633.633. And for Madison County, the adopting body is the Local Income Tax Council. So the county council is a member of the Local Income Tax Council. And as you pointed out, there's 100 votes on the Local Income Tax Council, divided up pro rata for population. So the county council represents the unincorporated area. That would be the number of votes that the county council represents on the Local Income Tax Council. So I understand we're here just for informational purposes. Even if we weren't, this isn't appropriately in front of the council at this point. It has to go to the Local Income Tax Council, and then they distribute to all of the voting members, who would then consider the resolution on whether or not to provide money to the fire department. Are there any questions? I think that's just kind of baseline where we are. We're not close to that point yet. There's the Local Income Tax Council has to have first.
Okay. All right.
The other thing he mentioned, and I gave Rick a copy of the updated lit information. Yeah. LaPel does receive public safety distribution currently. I didn't see any case law on whether or not that would exclude the fire department from receiving it, but as was pointed out, it has to be, sorry, let me find that again. A political subdivision that is not otherwise entitled to receive distribution of the tax revenue under this section. So LaPel, as a taxing unit does receive public safety. So we bring into question whether or not the fire district, which represents LaPel and the township, is disqualified from receiving that because they're already receiving it through LaPel. Not a question that we have to answer, something that they should be cognizant of. And again, it has to go through the local income tax council first.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Kendall with Steve Herbold. So the tax council, how does that process start? Does somebody have to do a resolution and have it sent to all the taxing units on the tax council? Is that how that starts? And then the second question I have is, when you would raise that tax, it takes 50.01 votes. So would that be the same for the distribution, because then Anderson would have the lion's share of those votes? I'm just wondering how that all plays out, if you can answer that. So does it take just 50.01 votes to begin distribution by the tax council, or does it take unanimous?
Would it change the allocation?
Change the allocation, yeah.
It's not 50. I looked this up for another client, but I don't have that on top of my head right now. It's a larger percentage than just a simple majority. And then the first question, it can be sent to the local income tax council. As I understand, the president of the fire district is also on the town council for LaPel.
Right.
LaPel is a tax unit, and as such, they are the representative, or the voting member. They could start the process there, pass an ordinance, and forward that on to the local income tax council. But ultimately, it's a vote by the local income tax council, not just.
Right. All right. Thank you.
You said a couple things. I understand the taxing unit, and we went through that with putting this in place, raising the public lit safety tax rate. So where does this money, it breaks down, Elwood gets their part, Alexander gets their part, all the towns and cities get their part. So the unincorporated areas you stated, that we would have to fund that under code, the unincorporated, that's what we're responsible, the county, right? We're not responsible, Anderson City, Elwood. So where does this money come from if they start this? And I guess my fear is, as I'm thinking as you're talking, we allocated quite a bit of money under this public lit safety. Does this come first, or we're gonna have to because we pretty much got that depleted? Did we maybe?
First of all, Councilman Vaughn, this would be for the 2023 budget.
I understand.
And so budgets would be reworked by then, but, so it wouldn't have an effect on this year's budget if they were able to go.
I understand that, but I'm talking about going forward. We have allocated a lot of money for next year. I just don't want to get caught up in where we're gonna have to.
So the question would be, how does the allocation change? Does it all come from one taxing unit, or is it just?
I'm just
if they
saying.
get a little extra bump in percentage, probably all the taxing units would lose a little bit?
Is it,
Yeah.
So under the 6.668, there's a calculation where you have to pay your debt first. There's no PSAP in Madison County, so you don't have to worry about paying PSAP. And then after that calculation, subsection A, we have what's considered to be excess funds. And those, if an amount is approved under subsection C, which is the one that we're referencing to divide that to another unit, that gets paid for all of the taxing units too, without the excess. So they get paid first. I think I also heard you ask about their ability to raise funds. Fire districts have the ability to levy taxes specifically for fire protection. Fire protection for unincorporated areas is not on the county, it's the responsibility of the township and the trustee. So that's why they've entered into it. One of the reasons I imagine they entered into an agreement with the city and the township, because in the incorporated area, the city provides fire protection.
Right.
Unincorporated area, the township provides protection. The county is not on the hook for fire protection for either of those areas. There is an option to use lit money to help fund that, which the county could vote on with the other members of the local tax council.
to keep us from going deeper than we need to tonight, it sounds like there's more work that has to be done, but I do want to let Mr. Blake.
So I just want to clarify a couple of things to make sure everybody understands. So Lapel Stony Creek Fire Territory is Lapel in name only. The town has no actual financial connection to the fire territory in any way, shape, or form. I, as the vice president of the town council, am also on the fire board just because that's in the original bylaws. But the town has no financial connection to the fire territory. It is its own complete entity, 100% managed by the township. So just that little fine note there. And the reason I came here to this council tonight is as a representative of the township, that money, as it's outlined in this, would come out of the county's portion, not be a reduction or a change in the distribution to any of the actual certified shares. This section is 100% for the distribution of money to those that are not otherwise entitled to a share, and therefore being in the unincorporated area, the county receives its lit funds based on the population of the unincorporated area. Therefore, that's why I came to this board to get this ball rolling.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all the information and appreciate all the time you put in.
There's a lot of paper there in front of you, so
yes, there
enjoy.
Is. All right. Thank you. The next communication is from Senator Tim Lannon.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to bring you up to date on the Madison County Bicentennial, which is next year, as I think most of you know. In fact, a number of counties are celebrating their 200-year birthday both this year and next year. For example, Henry County's birthday is actually this year in 2021. They have a website. You can go to that and see what they're doing. They've got a lot of good ideas that we're looking at too. The next year, there will be 17 counties, including our own, which will celebrate their 200-year celebration. And according to Stephen Jackson, the Madison County historian, the actual precise date for our 200th birthday will be November 10th, 2023. So, as a lifelong resident of Madison County, and I would hope you would all agree with me, we need to have an appropriate and a good celebration of this historic event for Madison County. So, and do that not only just on November 10th, but I think also at other times leading up to November 10th of next year. So in April, I was approached by the Madison County Commissioners and was asked to head up the bicentennial effort for next year, which I deem to be a great honor. And I have agreed to do so. And since that time, I have put together a steering committee, if you will, a very informal type of a group of individuals, county residents from all over the county, and we've met a number of times. Up to this point in time, we've been meeting at the Madison County Historical Society, and Stephen Jackson and the folks there have just been great, and they're going to be a very important part of the bicentennial celebration. But we have members, residents from all over the county who serve on that committee. I have called and contacted the mayors of all three cities, and they have each named a representative to be on the commission. We have folks from some of the other townships who are also participating. This evening I have with me Clayton Whitson, who is a former member of this council, and is now director of the Madison County Anderson Chamber of Commerce, and Mark Thacker, director of the Anderson-Madison County Visitors Bureau, and they're just two of the folks who are we are brainstorming with to come up with what is the proper way to do a bicentennial celebration. And I will say this, and this is information or advice that Stephen Jackson gave to me at the very first meeting, which is, you know, you only do this once every 200 years. So it's not like there's a playbook we can look at. And he said, look, there's not really a wrong way or a right way to do this, but I'm convinced we want to do it the right way. And like I said, there's a number of other counties which are planning their celebration for next year. Hamilton County, you can go on their website and see what they're doing, and they're doing a lot. So I'm here to tell you that we are doing a lot of brainstorming at this point in time. We've thought about the ways in which we can celebrate Madison County's history and heritage, and those have included ideas about historic tours, concerts, parades, lectures, and something culminating then in a major birthday bash, if you want to call it that, on November 10th. But we're striving to make sure that this will be a celebration which reflects all parts of our county and all communities within our county as well. So, as you might imagine, there's going to be a lot of planning. We've done a lot of planning already. We're going to continue to do that planning, and there's going to be a lot of work. I'm here to invite the county council's input into this matter. Obviously, one of the things we're going to have to do is raise money, and that's why I'm here before this body, in part. As I have looked at what has happened in other communities, for example, if you look at what the city of Anderson did in 2013 when they had their sesquicentennial, their 150-year celebration, I had the opportunity to talk to the chair of that sesquicentennial, and it was advised that in 2013 the cost was somewhere around $168,000. So add, some years and inflation, and the fact we are talking about a countywide celebration here, and that gives you an idea of probably a ballpark figure of what we're looking at. We have not been able to put any precise numbers down as far as here's X dollars that we're going to need to do this right. It's a little bit of a chicken and egg type thing. You have to sort of think of, realistically about what type of a celebration, what type of events are you going to have, and then assign some dollars to that. But I think you can see that it's probably going to be, north of $200,000 that if we're going to do this. Now, we can do this any way we want to. And to a degree, that's going to be up to you folks, because I'm here to ask for the county council to consider, some funding for this. Not entirely. I think that's going to take, a countywide type of approach. And I think when I look back at how Anderson did it, when I look back, we were fortunate enough, Steve Jackson and the county historical folks had a booklet from the sesquicentennial for Madison County, which was in 1973. And I don't remember that very well. I was, I think, a junior at Ball State, and I was probably interested in maybe some other things other than the sesquicentennial, but I should have been more involved probably. But I can look at what happened in the sesquicentennial. You can see how much Madison County has changed, how much we're still somewhat the same. But, I do ask for your consideration both in your budget for next year, in 2023, in terms of what would be an appropriate commitment and funding by the county for this celebration to come off right. I would really ask for your consideration for some money now. I don't know if that's appropriate or if that's even, realistic at this point in time.
Do it for Chad.
But we need some seed money to get going. We need to do some publicizing. We need to put together some materials to go out into the public, and also to talk to other donors about how we're going to fund this. So that's my message to you this evening. If you were to ask me how much am I asking for seed money, I thought $25,000 would be a nice figure for us to get going, and I can assure you we'll spend that in a way which will be appropriate. I'll be glad to account in any way to the council if that's necessary or appropriate. I'm sure it would be. So anyway, that's my presentation to you this evening. Glad to answer any questions that the council might have, and I thank you very much for your time and for your assistance in this endeavor.
Are there any questions?
I guess I may comment. Thank you, Senator Lannon, for taking this under your wing there. That's quite the undertaking, and I appreciate that. And I would ask that the Senator asked to be on the agenda for new money requests. We need to do advertising, but come back next month.
Okay.
And let's get on the agenda, and let's try to have some communication before then and see if we can
Excellent.
help with that.
Excellent.
I would like to see us move forward with something on that.
I appreciate that so much. I'll be more than happy to do that, of course.
Any other questions for Senator Lannon? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the council.
Okay, nothing under old business. Under new business, there's out-of-state travel request for Tom Ecker. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Alexander. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilman Emery. Any discussion? All in favor, then say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. The next one that's listed on the agenda, out-of-state travel, is for Councilman Fred Reese, and Councilman Vaughn earlier alluded to the fact that he may be going to that event. So is there any issue with us then adding Councilman Vaughn onto this as an approval at this point? Since okay, just wanted to make sure that didn't have to be
Make a
advertised.
motion to approve with the addition of Councilman Vaughn.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Emery and a second by Councilman Steele. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes as well. Next, we have been presented with transfers, including there was one that was presented to us this evening as we arrived. Would there be a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Motion. We have a motion to approve en masse by Councilman Emery. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Alexander. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That carries. The next section, we have public comment for new money requests. Just want to outline the I'm sorry, Mr. Anchor. What?
Out-of-state travel.
Yeah, we approved yours.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will be hearing public comment on items that are listed on the agenda under new money. Just for a broad overview, most of these requests are miscellaneous funds, which are grant funded or funds specific to what they're being asked for, and then we have one general fund request. So if somebody from the public would like to speak on any of these items, they can approach the podium, state their name and address, and we'll keep comments to about 3 minutes. Okay, seeing nobody come. First is Central Dispatch. Jim Cleaver.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm here in front of you today to ask for an increase in the appropriation in our machinery and equipment fund. What we have is we've entered into an agreement with several of our vendors that provide quite a substantial discount to smaller cities and towns when they purchase equipment through us. And we're able to pass that savings on to these smaller cities and towns, in addition to maintaining a little bit more control over some of the radio systems, so we don't get pieces of equipment that maybe don't work well with our existing system, or are lacking some features that they would just overlook typically if they just go by sole pricing. What I've done is we'll take these invoices as these towns and cities order equipment, and the county central dispatch will send an invoice to these agencies. When those invoices get paid and that money gets receipted back into our basically central dispatch fund, then I'll start paying those bills out. What I'm asking for is an increase in this line of $41,000. As of yesterday's date, we've received $35,430 in receipts for that money. And obviously the auditor won't allow me to pay it unless I get the remaining receipts in anyway.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Cleaver, you didn't do this new, who filled this out? It says Beeman. That is interim director Chris Beeman. He's with us here tonight too. Do you have the cash on hand to do this, to fund this? Once these receipts come in, I will have cash on hand to do that. That's the $35,430 is what I've invoiced out, actually over that, and what I've received back in so far is. You don't have the cash in there right now? I have $35,430 of that cash right now. And you're guaranteed that? It's already deposited, sir. No, I'm talking about on top of that to cover this $41,000. You need about $6,000. So what happens if you don't get? Say you don't get that. If I don't get that, the auditor will not allow me to pay the remaining claims. Which
So you would not be spending the money.
So it's already
Right.
spent.
Spend money if you need it, right? Money to get us through the auditor's office.
And I fully expect the money to come in. It's a matter of settlement just finished. For a lot of these cities and towns, they're in the same position, and, you know, those checks will start, soon be forthcoming.
The reason on the bottom you said, because of late fees from other county or late payment or whatever?
No, sir, it says needs appropriation to pay claims and machinery and equipment.
From there. There we go. Yeah, I just had it, sorry.
Basically, he's just asking for us to approve the appropriation for this, so that as the funds come in, he can spend it. The money won't be spent unless he collects it.
And the money's in central dispatch fund.
Yes.
Well, not all of it.
Yeah.
No, but he has 41,000 in central dispatch fund.
He doesn't have the cash, but
Yeah.
you have 35,000 to
Not in
41.
machinery and equipment. He doesn't have the money. He needs to move it to machinery and equipment to pay those.
This will be a new appropriation in machinery and equipment, not a transfer, but he's received 30-some thousand and will likely be receiving the rest later. Again, the council could approve this knowing that if he's only able to spend what he is actually receiving, and the auditor's office would help us with that, I'm sure. The other option would be the council could approve the amount that he has in that account, cash received at this point, and then he'd have to come back and ask for the other 6,000 when he gets it.
So he's gonna, go ahead, Councilman.
I have some questions. Are these invoices that need to be paid now?
They can wait for a period of time, yes. The vendors aren't gonna hold us to it. They understand the situation.
Have these services been provided already?
The equipment has been received and delivered to the small cities and towns, yes.
So we received the equipment. And we owe money on it? What you're saying?
We can pay that with what we've received plus what we have remaining in that fund. You have to understand at the beginning of the year, fitting the machinery and equipment budget, we have no idea that, this time last year when the budget was set, that cities and towns would have a windfall in their lit expenditures. And they're now starting to buy equipment because those distributions have been going out, and to buy it at a substantial reduced cost, they do that through us. So, this will probably be the first of several times I come up before you to go, can we increase this once I get the money back in? And like I said, those invoices were sent out, and we're just now starting to receive that money back.
Well, and your department is unique in the fact that with a lot of the equipment that you maintain, radios, things like that, there's a lot of interworking between you and the other cities and towns.
Very much so.
And the coroner's office covers the entire
This is
county.
somewhat of a wash.
It's
gonna
No.
wash out if they
Yeah.
No, it's not.
They receive the money into central dispatch and they buy the equipment through machinery equipment, but you can't enter department transfer it. It has to come
Overspent
out.
your budget.
It's like a
I understand that, Councilman.
Well, I'm not sure.
Understand that. You get funded by two streams, 911 emergency fund by the state, and then the city and towns interlocal agreement was done 5 years ago, in which a lot of these are unhappy about. And some has not been paying, because I met with them. So my concern is this gonna be an ongoing thing, which you stated it is? If you don't get that money, that's what I'm concerned about. If they decide, some entities are not paying, some hasn't paid for what, a year and a half, I'm understanding?
One has not paid for, they're 6 months in arrears, so.
Well, I've heard a lot more than that, but I'm just considering, I don't want to be the county council hooked on this when I know Mr. Gardner has met with Brett Jensen and he needed some money last year. And you made clear, and Mr. Gardner, you may want to correct me if I'm wrong, that we don't fund this. And I just don't want to get on the hook. The funding, we're already budget's tight for 6 more months. And I don't want to make a gamble on because you think you may get the money. And I'm not trying to be hard, I'm just trying to say I don't want to be putting the blind later on down the road and then we get hooked.
I understand, we've sent out invoicing for over $41,000. When that money comes in, I have to put this in perhaps a month before I know what the invoicing will hit and be. And
If there are shortfalls, then I will end up having to transfer money from one of the other existing 4921 lines to cover that short.
And just to clarify, this isn't for the dispatch service, this is for.
This is for equipment.
So they've agreed to take the equipment, therefore they should be agreeing to pay for it, or they shouldn't agree to take it.
The city and towns agreed with it and signed a contract?
They've signed an invoice that they've received
This
the
year?
equipment. For the equipment that I'm invoicing out.
Interesting.
This is a, like, one-time expense, like
This is
actually
cost for
purchasing a piece of equipment.
So a better example, a small city and town wants to buy an additional piece of radio equipment, affordable perhaps. Okay, they can either spend Y amount of money and buy it off the shelf at a higher price, or they can purchase it through the county at a lower price. They choose to do that. When I get that invoice, or when I get that price, I know it before the equipment's delivered. When I deliver that equipment to them, they sign an invoice that says they will pay this amount.
I guess I'm just uncomfortable appropriating anything that you cash that don't put you in bind. I just feel uncomfortable. But I'm done.
Yes, sir.
Maybe to clarify a little bit, I what you said was that cities, for example, they have public safety money from their dispatch. And they're using their public safety money to buy this equipment. You're agreed to order for them. And they'll pay from their lit tax when you invoice them. So that, they're handling the minutia of what's going on internally. We don't have to worry about that. You're just saying, hey, I need to buy the equipment. They're gonna reimburse me because they ordered it. That's how simple it is, from what I understand.
It's a pass-through
I
expense,
would
and
make a motion that we accept this request on the conditions that the cities and towns pay their
okay, we have a motion by Councilman Alexander and a second by Councilman Emery. Is there any further discussion? Rick, you have?
Well, I was going to add something that Jim didn't mention. The county pays into that same fund. We just done settlement. We're getting ready to write a check to Dispatch Center for $1.2 million. So it's 1.2 million plus a 41,000 to buy the radios that are 41,000.
So we do have enough.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rick, did you have any more, or were you just saying that we got? Okay. All right, there's no more discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, members of the council, thank you for your time.
Next, emergency management, EMPG situational awareness. And we can get to that here. Jeff Dyer?
Jeff Dyer, Emergency Management, and I'm requesting $18,084 to be put in 44,000 account. We received a grant for that same amount of money from Indiana Department of Homeland Security, and we purchased the equipment. It's been installed. They will reimburse us as soon as we show it's been paid, but it's a pay ahead and then get reimbursed.
100% reimbursement.
Yes.
All right, so this is grant funded.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Emery, second by Councilman Vaughn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Juvenile Probation, Madison County JDAI Grant Fund. And that is Tracy Lane.
Hi, not Tracy Lane.
Sorry.
Michelle, sir.
Read from my paper.
That's okay, that's okay. From the Juvenile Probation Department, I'm requesting appropriations for our grant that we received from the Department of Corrections, since 2014. This year we have, been awarded $70,000, and it's not a reimbursable. They do send that to the county monthly installments. And this is for our probation programming for our youth to prevent different alternatives to being placed in detention.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Vaughn, second by Councilman Reese. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Health Department, Stephanie Mellinger. Per usual, you've got quite a few grant funds here, so you can breeze through them
Okay.
as please you'd like.
Steph Mellinger, Health Department. So the first one is the City's Readiness Initiative grant. We've been getting this one about 17, 18 years. It kind of actually goes along with the Bioterror Fund one down towards the bottom. They come together. These are our preparedness grants. So we use them for everyday operations and then preparedness supplies. So I'm going through all of them together. Okay, so then the next one, the Mass Vaccination Clinic grant. This is additional money to continue operating our COVID vaccinations. We're doing about 30 per day.
No, not at this time, no. We're letting her present.
The DIS grant is for our disease intervention specialists. This is for STDs, and it employs 2 people from this grant, as well as additional supplies. The COVID testing grant, again, to continue COVID testing. This was money that was given to us to conduct COVID testing through the State Health Department. That's what's left, and we are appropriating to utilize what's left there in that line. COVID Safety Compliance Fund. This is also our school liaison money. This is also a grant from the State Department of Health, and this money is used to fund additional staff for COVID, for schools, planning, as well as catching kids up on other things, vision screening, hearing, physicals, all the things that kids kind of got shoved aside as we went through COVID the past few years. So this money is going to help to get kids caught up on that stuff with our mobile unit, and we partner with the schools to make sure that stuff gets done. The next one is the Health Department reimbursement for Medicaid.
Is that the $851,000?
Yes. The Health Department reimbursement, those health departments who did not bill Medicaid for COVID vaccinations, the State Health Department did that on our behalf. So far, the vaccinations that we've done, that is the money that has been given to us from Medicaid reimbursement. And with that, covers our barn. So I am withdrawing our ARPA request for additional money for the barn.
Great.
The Bioterror Fund I mentioned, the lead grant, actionable levels for environmental assessments as well as nurses for managing lead cases have changed. Yes, the actionable levels have gone up and down depending on environmental versus nursing case management. So the State Department of Health has offered grants to every county to fund and assist in whatever way we need, because we're going to have more effort in following up on lead cases.
There's a lot there.
There is a lot
Are
there.
there any questions?
Yeah. Melody, do me a favor. Just a small favor. At the end of the year, would you just add up? You amaze me. You really do. I mean, can you add up how many grants you got in 1 year? I'd really like to know that.
Well, we've been fortunate this year, extra fortunate. If there's a silver lining to COVID, I mean, public health is historically underfunded. So we have an opportunity now to not only get caught up, but look at future funding for programming. I mean, we're, goodness, 91st in the state for health behavior. So obesity, smoking, low birth weight babies, teen births. So this money, extra money, allows us, yes, it's COVID as a result of COVID, but it's also available to us to start looking at how to make our communities healthier. So I'm actually really excited about these opportunities.
I just, with the grants, it's like, every time I see it, it's like, I know it's not general fund money.
It's
so
not general fund, it's not even health fund, it's all grant money.
I just want to compliment you.
Thank you.
President, I make a motion to approve in mass since it's all that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve en masse by Councilman Emery, a second by Councilman Alexander. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very
Thank
much. That would have been under the public comments that we passed, but I'd be happy to chat with you afterwards if you'd like.
I'd rather be do it now.
Well, the council's already taken action on that. We're gonna move on to general fund, 1,000, request from the sheriff.
Public doesn't get to see.
I invited the,
Allocated over $1 million, but not $2 million.
sir, we didn't allocate new money, we approved grant money that's being given. So we're gonna move on with the agenda, and like I said, I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards. Okay, Sheriff?
Good evening. We're asking for what is actually a reimbursement of $7,058.19. We deposited 2 checks with the auditor from an online auction service where we have lost and found items. We have seized items that are not claimed by the original owners after investigations. Those add up after years and years of time. I came before you once before this year with the same request. Those items we sell online at an auction. It's by far the most efficient way, and we do get close to market value out of those items. Anything from bicycles to leather items, just anything that's lost and found or seized that we collect, and the courts have disposed of the case, or we've advertised and given the public a chance to claim those items. Anyway, those 2 checks were in the amounts of, they total $7,058.19. And we're just asking for that money to be reimbursed over to Sheriff 440 in our machinery and equipment fund. It's not new money, it's money that we recently deposited 2 checks.
Okay, I just had the Councilman Alexander make a motion to approve. So Councilman Vaughn, would you want to be the second?
Second.
All right, second by Councilman Vaughn. Is there any discussion or any further questions?
Stolen property.
Sir,
Seized property.
I'm gonna,
That's for discussion.
no, this is discussion amongst the council.
Yes.
Sheriff, would you elaborate just a little more if you could, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have items that might be seized during an
That has nothing to do with us.
Excuse me, could you all be quiet?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
May I continue?
Please continue, Sheriff.
We have items that might be seized during an investigation, and either a court turns them over to us to sell, or they're not claimed by anyone who initially had those items during the investigation, and we give every opportunity for those people to claim those items. We have lost and found items. We have deputies who find things along the road, like I said, anything from bicycles to leather purses. And if there's a market for those items, we could sell them, and the county can be reimbursed for some of those investigations, and we can use that money within our budget, or we could throw the items away. That's the best explanation I can come up with. There's jewelry that's found on county property. There are items, usually several knives that are taken from people at the entrance to this building, even though there's a sign that says do not come in with any type of weapon whatsoever. If one of those items is found on somebody, a knife for instance, the deputies give that person the opportunity to take that back to their vehicle. Some people don't want to waste the time. They deposit it in a locker at the front door, and because we don't have the time to receipt and identify those items back to an individual, we tell them you're giving that up, and they agree. So those are the 2 categories, really. Yeah.
When do you have the sales? When do you have your sales in the public? Are they out?
We don't advertise them here in the public newspaper. They're advertised online. It's actually an international online service Trying to get the name of that service here. It's called propertyroom.com. Yeah, this, I would say
Does that give a
75,
list of all the stuff in?
pardon me?
Does that give a list of all what you're gonna sell on there?
Yes, on propertyline.com. And I would say 75% of the police agencies across the country use it. It's a large service.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. We have 2 second readings of salary ordinances. We will start with salary ordinance 2022-5D, an ordinance modifying 2022 salaries in the Public Safety Fund for MCCC. Be it ordained by the Madison County Council that the salary for county employees in Madison County, Indiana for the year 2022 be adjusted in the following manner. Public Safety Fund -1170, MCCC -9603 11,267, training coordinator $26,800. Would there be a motion on this?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn, second by Councilman Steele. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Finally, we have salary ordinance 2022-5E, an ordinance modifying 2022 salaries in the general fund for county admin. Be it ordained by the Madison County Council that the salary for county employees in Madison County, Indiana for year 2022 be adjusted in the following manner. General Fund 1,000, Commissioner 0068, 11,631, County Administrator 59,884. Is there a motion to approve?
Roll call vote.
Well, there's not a motion yet.
Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Alexander,
Second.
second by Councilman Emery.
Roll call vote.
Okay, is there any discussion? Todd, would you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Reese.
No.
Councilwoman Likens.
Yes.
Councilman Alexander.
Yes.
Councilman Steele.
Yes.
Councilman Emery.
Yes.
Councilman Vaughn.
No.
President Gale.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any committee reports tonight?
You would have received the email or committee report from Fred and I on the Personnel Committee.
Okay. All right, if not, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Emery.
Excuse me,
second
Mr.
by
President.
Councilman
Mr.
Vaughn.
President.
All in favor say aye.
Your Honor.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Your Honor, I'm here representing the coroner, and I understood that we would amend the agenda just long enough for me to address you.
I was never approached with a
Well, I'm
request.
approaching you now, sir. Would you please
Okay.
do that?
We've just adjourned the public meeting, so we would have to re-advertise that.
Sir, I'm not here to threaten you or cause you any difficulty.
That's
I'm here
fine.
to help you.
Okay, well, like I say, we just adjourned the public meeting.
All right,
So
let
if
me
you
make
want
a
to come and chat with
suggestion
me afterwards,
outside
that'd
the
be fine.
public meeting. Let me suggest something. My client, the coroner, has received a letter threatening to prosecute him because he's over his budget. The statutes require this county to pay for certain autopsies, and they require the county to pay for them. Now, we can do this easily if we can get together with council and talk it over.
I would suggest that you contact.
Well, no, because I don't want my client arrested in the meantime unless you know that it's gonna happen and I can bring a lawsuit against you for ignoring it. I'm just gonna plain say it out front. You're as bad as Jeff Freeman, I swear to God. All you people think you don't have to answer to anybody.
Like I said, I would suggest that you get in touch with council.
I heard you, and that's not good enough. I have a right to address this council on behalf of my client. You don't ignore that?
The meeting's adjourned.
Are you gonna ignore it?
The meeting's adjourned.
Is that a yes?
I'm not.
You're ignoring it, right? You're not letting me come before the council, right?
We've adjourned the meeting.
Is that what you said? Well, I don't
We would
care
have
why.
publicized-
I'm asking if this is your call. Oh, you're too much of a coward to even say yes or no. I swear to goodness. Mr. Reese, I am sorry. I have a great deal of respect for you until tonight. I had a great deal of respect for everybody else. But this doesn't float. And I'm sorry. Last thing I ever wanted to do was try to hate this you can't practice something and get picked up. And then I just why we don't have
I'm going to be here in person.
You got me hooked on him, and it's not like I can just, drive to Maryville whenever I want to get
right?
I'll go make another video for the bike. Are they like individually wrapped? Well, okay. Do you still have some to get rid of? Or? Yeah. I need some.
Yes, I will give it to you. Yes, I will do that.
Miss Keller. Great. Well, hi.
Good, how are you?
Well, it's officially that's
Yes, I have a meeting program for you. So tomorrow, yeah, and we're going to get a report in the morning. I mean, I just remember last time. Oh, Sarah's going to give a report. Okay. Yeah, they're out, right. Well, and it's no big deal, so I'll be perfect. I'm trying. I'm probably turning off more people than I need to, but it's part of it, I guess. Right, Sheriff? You gotta go and disruptive sometimes. She can't do it all on her own.
That's true. Hard to believe.
That's right. That's where she got her.
That's right.
Seven. All qualified. They were all. They were directed to send certified letters.
I apologize. I know we don't fire.
Get some more interpretation on that and make sure they're sent to the proper people. Because again, this one we're deciding on. All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, Same with